It is January 13th, and I realize it has been a little while since I have done a vlog update, so that's what I am here doing again. And I feel like it wouldn't be a vlog update unless I was near a beach, and this is where I have been for, call it the last, well, this will be my third night, so I feel like this is 4 days, possibly? Anyway, this is the beach that is next to Ingham, and I say next to, it's like an 8-minute drive from Ingham, so it's not exactly a suburb quite, but it's such a, yeah, it's so quick to get here, and it's just such a lovely place. It's another like beautiful sunset, and it's been this way pretty much, like yesterday I didn't even leave the beach, to be fair. I like the furthest from the beach I went was 4 blocks that way, and that was just to kind of camp up for the night, and the rest of the day I just spent not laid out on the beach, but in the van that is just like right up there parked, and so I get the lovely sea breezes coming through, and the palm trees are all happy, and it's just been very, very nice. So yeah, great place to base myself out of for the past few days. Before that, I was in Townsville for maybe 2 or 3 nights. So I left Cairns last Sunday. Sunday morning was when I left Cairns, and today is Thursday evening, so I don't know how all that adds up. But anyway, Townsville was lovely. I went down there just to do a few errands and just to spend some more time in the city, because I felt like I hadn't quite done it justice. And to be fair, I still haven't done it justice, but I have spent a fair bit of time like wandering around and checking out the different suburbs and areas of the city, and just kind of getting a better feel for what Townsville is all about. This might be a very rambling post. Sorry, I haven't thought much about what I'm actually going to say tonight, but Townsville, like, if it is lovely, it's a wonderful place. The vibe is incredibly different to what it is in Cairns, and I am a big fan of Cairns. It's just like, yeah, Cairns is great, and it is more expensive, and there are it's just a little bit more expensive than Townsville. But just I don't know, I just find like the people of Cairns, and just the happy energy of people being on holiday, and a higher percentage of people working in the hospitality industry. So I think like you get the holiday makers, which are all happy and super excited to be in Cairns, and then on top of that you get like the locals who are often working in hospitality, and they just know how to be polite and nice and friendly, and they obviously like hospitality, and so they like, I guess, being around other people, and just it's just a very different vibe. Whereas Townsville is like, people there are on like government work, or they're doing their fly in, fly out, so they'll spend a bit of time in Townsville, and then they'll get flown out by their company to the mines or whatever to do their work out there, and then they'll come back for a few days or a few weeks to Townsville, and just repeat that throughout the year. But again, the city itself is really nice and lovely, so no complaints about Townsville. It is just hard. Like, if I'd only seen Townsville, I'd go like, oh, this is great, like this is what I came up here for, as far as finding a beautiful place. But having spent what was it, like 2 or 3 weeks in Cairns, I feel like almost spoiled coming out of Cairns and going, but that's more to my liking, is Cairns. Anyway, that being said, an update with the land. So it's a good update. I went through, and because I was favoring Cairns as a place to either base myself out of, or just be close enough to Cairns where I can at least kind of go back and visit, or just hang out for a weekend or whatever in the future, I ended up taking the van and, like I said, driving down to Townsville, and through that I checked out some properties along the way, and then I rechecked in with Ingham to have a look at those properties again. And by the time I got back to Ingham, the two of my two top picks for like all of Australia, all the land that I've seen so far were these two in Ingham, and they had come off the market, so they had like contracts and offers placed on them and everything. And so I had a look at some other properties in Ingham, and like I said, some outside of Ingham as well, in like the townships between Ingham and Cairns, and then also from Ingham into Townsville. I ended up ruling out, I think this was after some good chats with my bubble buddy Herman and also my parents about really where, now that I actually have to start making decisions, where is going to be best. And so I had a good think through where I saw the most value and where it would be easiest for me to kind of, because I'm such a newbie to buying land and building and all that kind of stuff, like where is it going to be easiest. And that really ended up being Ingham. So when I was in Townsville, I ended up ruling out, because the plan-ish, loose planning, was to also take the van over to Charters Towers and also back to Collinsville to recheck on the land out there and just double check that, yeah, I was interested in that. And so I ended up just going like, no, I'm just going to stick with Ingham. And so I was just sort of, one morning I woke up in Townsville and I just had this feeling of like, okay, I'm ready for something to happen. Like I know that it's not going to be in Collinsville or in Charters Towers. I just want something to happen now. And apparently that was all that it took for the universe to provide. And within like 10 minutes, the call came through from the real estate agent, and he said, actually, one of them had come back. So the house that I was thinking about buying on the land with the creek in the back, that I was going to demolish and build something new on the main street of Ingham, that had come back on the market. And then he said, there might be a chance that the other piece of the vacant land with the kangaroos on it might come back because the people weren't coming through with the contract signing. And so anyway, so I had a shower, had a swim, and not in that order, swim first and then a shower, then got back in the van and then headed back up to Ingham, which is only like an hour outside of Townsville. And so I caught up with the real estate agent, rechecked in with both pieces of land to make sure that they definitely were ones that still were like my top two. And then the guy that was selling the house that I wanted to demolish, he actually upped the amount from $65,000 to an asking price of $85,000. And I was like, that's absolutely not worth it for me anymore. At $65K, I think that's doable. But by the time that I spend the money to demolish that house and everything, I was like, I just don't see the value for $85,000. But this other piece of land, so it was like a day later, the real estate agent was like, they haven't signed the contract yet and they're missing an action and they're not returning my calls and blah, blah, blah. And so I don't know if that's like real estate agent high pressure sales techniques or whatever, but I was already like that. Yeah, it's my number one pick is this vacant land with the kangaroos. And I was like, if it comes available, that's great. And so it did. And so, so I still negotiated it down from the asking price by several $1,000s. So I was happy about that. And I 100% see a huge amount of value in this land. It's really good land for the money and just for everything involved within Ingham. So I ended up, once the real estate agent gave me the all clear, I put in a formal offer, and then the current owners accepted that offer, and then we have now gotten to the point where I have signed the contract for the land. So that was today. And that's great news, like super happy about that. And so now the next, I guess, part of the process is just to wait for the sellers to sign the contract as well. And given that like they've already okayed the due diligence clauses that I put on it, and it's so like everything is checking out wonderfully well so far. And but I understand that I will not be counting my chickens before they're hatched, in this case, settlement day. But really, once they sign it, they can't take it back. It's only me that can get out of the contract. So, I don't know, hopefully this evening or tomorrow they get around to signing this contract, and then I need to wait 21 days from the date that they sign it until settlement happens. And then once settlement happens, obviously I can do whatever I want with the land. So it's just been lots of time. I mean, despite the number of times I've walked along this beach and seen sunrises and sunsets and everything is great, but I've also been doing just more investigation in terms of should everything go through? Do I want to just in 3 weeks? Do I want to just move onto the land and just put up something sort of temporary there while I figure out just everything else, in terms of the house that I want to build on it and the things that I want to grow on it and all that. Or the alternative is to either base myself out of Cairns, which would be a lot more obviously commuting because it's 3 hours from Cairns. But obviously I love Cairns, so that's good, but Cairns is very expensive. And so the other sort of alternative is just to get a rental in Ingham if I didn't want to live on the land but still be in Ingham close by. And because rental prices are quite inexpensive, they're like you can get a 2-bedroom semi-furnished new kitchen and all that kind of stuff for like $160-ish per week. So I kind of just go, well, that seems pretty decent. But again, I love the idea of, given that I've been living in a van for the past 2 months, I kind of feel like 2 months? I feel like it's been nearly 2 months anyway. I feel like living on the land would be an upgrade. It would definitely be an upgrade from living in the van. And given that I've already got the solar panel and the battery, and kind of life just kind of ticks along with the stuff that I've got in the van. So I think if I somehow had my own shower on the land, then that would be a big upgrade, and just stuff like that. So all doable, lots of good options, and just really waiting until the seller signs, and then I can kind of start maybe ordering some things in for taking ownership of the land, hopefully in a few weeks. And so just I feel like there's going to be a lot more investigation happening, and even if I figure out accommodation for Ingham, it'll be like the next step is to actually start designing the house and what I want it to look like, and which part of the property, and all of that exciting kind of stuff. Or even if I may get to the point where I'm like, I actually don't want to start building a house straight away. I just want to enjoy the land for a little while and just see what happens with the land and get to know it before I start thinking about where to put the house. There's a lot of really cool things about the land. I don't know if I've spoken too much about it, but it's got, there's at the back of the land, it's a wetlands area, so it's all council owned, and it's this beautiful place. I was walking through it this evening just before I came here to the beach, and it's just this beautiful place, and there's just gorgeous birds, and obviously everything's tropical. There's lots of little wallabies that live on the land, in the wetlands, but also on what could be my land. And there's crocodiles, so the crocodiles live just in behind the land, and when it gets floody, then the crocodiles actually come up onto the land that I've got this contract on. And there's all sorts of just really cool wildlife that is around. And I met the neighbors. I should probably mention that. The neighbors are amazing. I spent ages talking to them before I think that was either just after I'd put in the offer. It was definitely before I signed the contract. And they're just really cool people and very lovely. And they have born and raised in Ingham, and they were also they had lived in the house. They own the house and the land, the 2 plots of land right next to the one that I have this contract on. And so they were just amazing to tell me who's the neighbors, and this land is right across from the community garden as well. So it's just in a really it's 1 block from the library, 2 blocks from Kmart and one of the major supermarkets and the shopping center. It's 1 block over from the main street of the town. And 2 blocks from the council building. So it's just it's super ideal. And even today, as I was driving here to the beach, I was thinking all about how much better the land is than I even thought originally. Because if I build high, if I built say 2 stories, 3 stories, or maybe a deck on the 3rd story, it would have just not even 2 stories. It would have this amazing view out over the wetlands that I was walking through this evening. And you'd be able to, bird watch, you'd be able to watch all the wallabies hopping along, you might be able to spot some crocodiles. There's just so much out the back of the property that I can see how if I build properly and I make the most of the land, it could be really cool, really, really, really cool. As in massive novelty factor and very Airbnb worthy. And that hasn't really necessarily been my plan to do an Airbnb, but this evening I was wow, I would even want to stay in an Airbnb if it was on that land overlooking the wetlands, and it's just such a beautiful part of the town. So again, not counting my chickens before they hatch, but it would be very cool if I was able to take possession of this land in a few weeks. Wow, I've been rambling for 18 minutes. So in terms of planning or thoughts about what I do for the next 3 weeks, I have zero understanding or idea about what I would like to do over the next 3 weeks. I know that Cairns is super lovely. I'd love to go back there for at least a week or 2. I don't feel too much of a need to go back to Townsville, even though that's the closer major city. I'm just a big fan of Cairns, really. Or do I stay here in Ingham? The government has made a call, I think it was yesterday, to everybody who is retired and unemployed, and said, if you can work, we need you because of all of the supply chain disruption and the massive shortages in labor. Just supermarket shelves are empty. Nothing's really getting through properly. It's just everybody who is working is massively overworked, or they're at home quarantining or sick with COVID. So I feel like when the government says, hey, retired and unemployed, we need your help, I kind of feel some sort of responsibility to get back in there and help out. So I don't know if that will lead to anything at the moment, and if that would be in Ingham or if that would be in Cairns, but I'm just kind of keeping that idea open, as well as just getting back in there and helping out wherever I can help out for at least a few weeks. Anyway, the vlogging I think is done for this evening, and maybe I will have more to report tomorrow. I would love for the next vlog, if I can arrange it. Well, I mean, I know that I can arrange it, but it just depends on when these people sign the contract. But if they were to sign the contract and I was still in Ingham, I would love to do the next vlog post from the land itself. so that anybody watching this can see what it is that I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't even need to wear these anymore because the sun has gone down. But yeah, stunning beach. I love this beach. Oh, where's the van? Right. There's the van. So that's my usual view. Like, I look out over this ocean. Yeah, a lot. Super lovely. Oh, and right, so straight in front of me is the turtle hatching area. Like, turtles will come up. It's one of those parts of the world where the turtles come up onto the beach and they lay their little turtle eggs, and then once they all hatch, they all run down the beach again. So I haven't seen any of that, but there's lots of signs everywhere. This whole beach is all about turtle. To be fair, Ingham's got a lot of turtles as well. Even in the wetlands, there's turtles. I was reading about them today as I walked through the wetlands. More rambling. So, okay, I'm pretty sure that's where I'm going to end things. Except this view right here, those islands, they look quite beautiful. I'm not really too sure how to get there. I haven't looked into that. But just beyond those islands, like just on the other side of those ones, is the Great Barrier Reef. So it's very close to all things reef related, like turtles and whatnot. Okay, good night.